Hey, what's going, y'all? It is yours truly once again. This kind of a PG version of a video I've done before, but I just wanted to make it more like PG. But there is a spin to this versus a video of this type I've done before. And given this is around the time of the year of Tupac, or the day of Tupac. He was born on June the 16th, 1971. Of course, given the date of this video, I'm just one day off, but hey, that's cool. I'm still having my acknowledgement of Tupac Amaru Shakur, okay? Now, re-examining Thug Life. I think in a previous video, I talked about lightly, just more so breaking down the acronym. And I can't really pronounce the whole acronym the way it normally is pronounced, but I can say it in a PG form. So Thug Life really stands for the hate you give, little infants, F's, everybody. So basically, the hate you give, little infants, messes up everybody in that nutshell. But let's take a different spin on this, because that's what this video is about. Re-examining Thug Life, because I brought up in a previous video that wasn't really as PG about my idea of how the hate you give, little infants, messes up everybody. And that's, in a grand scheme of things, to me, what I mentioned in that previous video, was the hate you give, that you part. It wasn't just necessarily aiming at the government, at other races of people, at the powers that be per se. No, that's people within what we call the so-called black community, people that look like you and me. So it's not just the hate you give based on police officers. No, it's the hate you give, you know, maybe it is some female, you know, maybe it is some homeboy that you know. Because the hate you give is based on a masculine position. You know, thug is a masculine thing. So it's a man in those shoes of being a thug. The hate you give. The hate you give. There's a movie that was out called The Hate You Give. But here's where I'm going to make a real spin on this even more in this particular video. Now, let's put Thug Life together once more, right? The hate you give. Life. Think about that. Now, let's take it a step further. The hate you give, my life. Yeah, we're going to go there with this. So you think about guys that really understand thug. A lot of people don't really understand thug, how a lot of this, it was truly a great concept, at least in its infant form, when Tupac was thinking of what thug means here in the United States, what it could stand for. Right now, the idea of thug doesn't stand for what Tupac had in mind for thug, but thug is about understanding that everybody around you hates you, no matter where you go. Even the gal that you laying up with possibly hates you too. The gal that said she loves you, she really hates you. Everybody around you hates you, so you by yourself. Thug, the hate you give, my life, the hate you give, life. I want y'all to really think about that, because this is really kind of some of the fire that Tupac had in him at that time. But he couldn't quite contain the fire himself. So, you know, he was a little reckless at times because he knew that he was a walking contradiction. But it's like that sometimes when you have certain new ideas that other people don't understand. But like he said in his latter days, he wants to be the spark that changes the world. Be the spark unto somebody that changes the world, even if he wasn't the person to do that. So I like to be the person. Yes, I said it. I'd like to be the person that carries some of Tupac Amaru Shakur's spark in many different ways. So even with what one may perceive, even with what one person may perceive as far as my intent, you have no idea what I'm about. You have no idea what I'm capable of. You have no idea what I intend to do or what I'm going to do. But all I know and what you know is that this has to be put out here, because that's what's going on in society right now. With guys need to understand where this hate is really coming from. And so that's where that previous video ended on, where this hate is coming from. But it wasn't PG, so I couldn't quite put it on YouTube. But I feel that this hate is coming from all sides. So any so-called black man out there that's been on your own and you feel hate, you a thug. Little do you know. Like Tupac said at one of his, I don't know, it was like maybe I'll put a link to that video in the comment section below if somebody has a sample of this video on YouTube. But he was at a conference meeting and he simply said, I don't know who you think you are. When these people look at you, they see you as thugs. They don't see you as nothing else. And that's really what it is, even now. So I say more so than anything else, as far as how we can redefine and re-examine thug life, I'd say for the square, that's the perfect thug, really. The square. You know, who we call the squares, the ones that ain't really on the street, but you still have to live a rough life regardless of if you're on the street or not. That's the perfect thug, because that was Tupac Amaru Shakur. He grew up as someone that had a mom, that had a father, and he went to an art school in the East Coast, Baltimore, kicking it with Jada Pinkett. They went to the same school, okay? He was an honorary student. This path of being a thug was not in the mindset of Tupac Amaru Shakur. These things came about because hatred around him started to show up in his life. And it hasn't changed. But see, most folk been sleeping on the fact that you're more hated than you realize. But what are you going to do about it? Well, in Tupac's case, he raised some hell. Not to say everything he did was right and correct, but at least he was trying to stir up some type of commotion that, yeah, this is a lot of hatred. And it's not just from people that we perceive as racist. It's from people that look like me. I feel hate from y'all. I feel hate from those who I call sisters. Okay? I feel hate from those who I call my brothers. I feel hate from y'all too. So the hate you give life also translates to the hate you give my life. Now, I'm not going to let what your hatred is about get the best of me, because in many ways, I can translate your hate as anything that has to do with not adding positivity to my life. And you're not trying to add positivity to my life. To me, that's a form of hatred. If somebody's not in your life right now, in many ways, that's hatred. The hate they give your life. They love your life. They would actually be a part of your life. They would contribute to your life. But a lot of us know that our phone barely rings because we barely have people in our life. All the time we deal with people who are not really a part of our life on a regular basis, especially those who are calling themselves a so-called black man, and you're trying to be progressive out here. And this is actually one of my most racial-based videos that I'm ever going to put out on YouTube, but I figured that somebody needs to hear this. I know this is going to touch somebody, but I wanted to put it out there in a way that I felt was more contextual. Let me talk from the shoes of Tupac Amaru Shakur. Let him say it the best way that he can. And of course, I'm not Tupac Amaru Shakur, but I'm very inspired by him. I have a very similar story. Somehow, though, I did grow up on a lot of masculine principles. So that is the difference between me and Tupac Amaru Shakur, you know. But I can definitely relate to him as far as some aspects of his childhood, you know. But yeah, I happen to grow up around more masculine principles, more patriarchal upbringings than Tupac. So that's what I mean about that. So I'm not down talking on Tupac at all. I'm just saying, like, you know, he had his mom, and the way he grew up, you know, he had to grow up around his mom. And, you know, I had a similar story like that, but I also had a lot of male guys, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of male guidance. That's what I meant to say. I had a lot of patriarchal upbringings in the midst of all that. You see what I'm saying? So that helped me out a lot with a lot of my mindsets going forward. But it's like, you know, in Tupac's day, he couldn't even find one to look up to. He didn't have that. He didn't have people he could go to. And you see it now getting worse to this day. But see, this younger generation coming up, a lot of them don't even know about the hate that one is given to them in their life. But yet they're crying out for love. That's the unfortunate part. And so I like to think that a channel like mine will one day reach out to these young guys out here that want to know about manhood. So young man, if you're listening to this video, hopefully you replay this. And if you got any questions, look at the about section. I have my email there if you need to reach me. And we could chop it up. If you ain't got nobody else to look up to, you can look up to yours truly. Because I know what it's like to deal with a lot of hate that's around me. The hate they give. Yes, the hate they give. Okay? But you're going to get love from me. You're going to get a lot of love from me. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, just thought I'd do a little tribute to Tupac and represent Tupac about really what his intent was, despite the things that came at him, despite the fact that he had to be a walking contradiction in many ways. I understood what he was trying to say. I understand it even now, more than ever. So for anybody, I just say get away from people that ain't trying to show you love. Because in essence, if they love you, they wouldn't need to go nowhere. And I say that to the core. There's no excuse for somebody to leave you. If they leave you, they never loved you. Okay? This is not a time for people to be wanting to walk away from you. This is not a time for people to be wanting to be so divisive and so opposite and so rebellious. Like minds need to be around like minds. So maybe that's what's going on right now. Their mind wants to be alike with others. Yes, their mind is wanting to be alike with others instead of yours. And that's fine, okay? But just know that there are others who think like you. You're not alone out here. No one's a lonely island, okay? And the beauty of what Tupac was doing, even though he knew he was by himself, he knew that there were others like him out there. So maybe one day these thugs can get together. Despite the hate that they encounter, they can show each other love. Thug love. What do you think thug love represented? So let's put those two words together, because I said thug life. The hate you give life, okay? So let's put this together. The hate you give love. What do you think thug love really represented? Guys come together because of those that show their hate towards love. The hate you give love. But thug love represents those coming together despite the hatred that one tried to give them. I'm going to stop, man. I'm going to drop the mic. Pause. Signing out.